Hello and welcome to Indiepocalypse Radio, your number one after con hangout. I've finally it's been made, or I found it. I forgot to check the date on it, but it's not an optimal video, but I've finally found my long sought after Jeff Rosenstock AMV. I need another like sort of a weird white whale to track down to conjure to like wish into existence. But speaking of wishing into existence, I did not. I by the way, I'm Andrew. I run Indie Apocalypse. It's the thing. It's the host. I'm the host here of the. I forget that you're supposed to introduce yourself as a host. People don't automatically assume they know who you are. But I mean, this is not a linear podcast. You don't have to start at the beginning. Episodes. Jesus Christ, episode 73. My God, I've been doing this too long. I've been doing all of this too long. I showed my friend a cover for the next issue, and he's like, 32? Huh? Huh? Um, like a kind of like a. You've been doing this that long? Ah, man, what a world. Well, speaking of what a world, we've got a great world of guests here, or guest here, who you listen. Usually, you're used to just being Indie Apocalypse fair, but this is not always Indie Apocalypse. Guys, we have guests from all over the world, including our guest here today, who you may know as just like an artist, a game maker, a musician, any the wonderful multidisciplinary world of the independent artist is Sabrina Sims. Sabrina, how are you doing today?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay.
Okay, yes.
Yes, thank you for the introduction. Whenever I introduce myself, I'm like, yeah, I do like 20 things and that kind of sums it up, but you summed it up very well.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm so happy to be here.
I'm glad to have you here. Glad to have you. Now, I gotta ask the question. The diehards are just banging at the gates, desperate to to know. Sabrina, how did you hear about Indie Apocalypse?
I think I heard about Indiepocalypse from Nathalie Lawhead.
Okay.
I believe was were they on the indie apocalypse in the indie apocalypse scene?
Yeah, in every Electric Z Maker comes with every issue of Indie
Oh
Apocalypse
yes.
as like a way.
Yay, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's a way to encourage people to be like, hey, you just bought a zine. What if you could also make your own?
That's the best. Yeah. So I heard about indie apocalypse through Nathalie and I use Electric Zine Maker like pretty much every day. So that's my workhorse creative glitchy program.
Yeah.
And I just heard about y'all like through their Twitter. So
Well, that's a perfect. That's a. I this is it's part question, part show starter, part marketing research for me, which is how are
yeah,
people hearing about this thing? And that is
it's a very good question.
yeah. I got to figure out. I got to how do you get the name out there? And I'm realizing that I have seen Electric Zine Maker in person. I don't,
Really?
yes, I'm just realizing this now.
Oh,
Like
wait, how?
like 2.5 years ago when I went to Indiecade in LA.
Hmm.
And I'm wondering, I don't remember if I spoke to them or not. Now I'm like, huh. Occasionally I will have these moments where like, have I met this person before? But like, without being indie apocalypse, people have would have no context for me, you know.
Yeah, that makes sense. I also I did a really big fair in July called the Brooklyn Art Book Fair.
Yeah,
And there were so many people on there that I had met on Instagram. And they're local zine makers. I'm in New York City, and I like know about them and I've seen them, but I hadn't met them
yeah,
because of the pandemic. So I was like, oh my gosh, it makes so much sense now. It's like two of my synapses like finally connected. I'm like, oh my gosh, this person is a real person.
Yes, yes.
Um,
I,
but it's also like some of them I'm like, I think I know you. I
right, right,
know
right,
I like vaguely know about you and I feel like I know about you, but I'm not 100% sure, but I
right.
still think you're a cool person.
You have to do the mental calculus of do I know you or do I parasocial know you? You know,
Oh yeah, that makes a lot of
you
sense.
have to be like, oh, do I know this person and do they know me or do I just know this person?
Do I know of this person?
Right.
You know what's funny is that it's happened to me twice that I've gone out, just, you know, being in the city and like someone is like, "Hey, do I know you?" I'm just like, I think so."
I
But like the thing is that I mean you can see from my like profile picture that's
yeah.
actually from the Brooklyn Art Book Fair. I have like distinctive like pink hair and I you can spot me from a mile away. So I'm like, okay, that makes more sense. That like you can just like tell who I am without like
Yes.
and then these people are like, "Oh yeah, I follow you on Instagram." I'm like, "Oh, cool." Wow, I'm like noticeable. That's kind of
Yeah.
like interesting.
How does it feel the first time somebody's like, I know who you are?
It was kind of jarring,
Yeah.
honestly. But I'm like, oh yeah, I've seen your username. It's
Okay.
just like it's a weird disconnect, but I think it's kind of hilarious.
Right, right. It's just it's very because more people are encountering it like every day as everybody's like increasingly like online with their own personal brand.
Yeah,
You can have like like a follower count of 100, but like a community of 10 that would be like, wow, you're so cool. And so it's like it's just this weird thing that it scales obviously, but you can still
yeah,
have like you don't have to have you don't have to be a celebrity anymore to get recognized on the street, which is a strange thing.
yeah, yeah. It's definitely an interesting new phenomenon.
Have you got any? I know you, and then and then you're like, I have no idea who you are. I think they have the wrong person.
Um, I don't think so. I like because I'm pretty like social with the local like art scenes in the
Yeah,
city, so like I feel like usually I know of someone usually like or like unless they're pretty new to it too.
right.
Because like technically like I only started doing art professionally I would say probably like 2019. That's when I like was like, yeah, I'm an artist now.
Almost, I would say one better year to start than 2020, which is
I know. Yeah, I was like slightly ahead of the curve.
yeah,
Yeah,
only
but it was like
only
yeah.
only very slightly. But you
Yeah.
got in
No.
under the wire.
Yeah, I started making zines the summer of 2019. Because I went to like a local workshop.
Yeah,
And I had just come back from my like trip to Korea and Japan. And I like made a zine about that. So like it's like a very like distinctive period in my mind. I'm like, oh yeah, like yeah, that's when I started making zines and that's when I like started, figuring out like my like where I wanted to be as an artist
right.
in the professional sense.
And did the was the workshop the thing that drew you to zine making, or did you have kind of like zines in the back of your head already?
Well, it's so funny because like right before I did that workshop, right before I left for my trip because my trip was a month long. I took
Also,
a solo trip.
yeah. Also, a
Um,
perfect time to get an overseas trip.
I know, yeah. Just right
Right, right
right
on the cusp.
before.
I don't know if you can. I still don't know if you can do that now.
No, I'm not doing that.
No, or if you're
I
if they would even let you in.
Oh yeah. I think they're letting people travel to Japan and South Korea,
Okay,
but I think they still might they have like pretty strict quarantines as far
yeah,
as I heard.
or at least strict
Um
outsider like tourist
yeah.
quarantines.
Yeah, I heard like if you went um if you if you traveled there like, right in the middle of like probably like last year, um they would like literally like quarantine you like at your wherever you were staying for like, I think it was like at least a week, and they would like send you like food and snacks and stuff because they just wanted to make sure you didn't come and infect the rest of the country.
Right, right. So it's like if you're making a trip, plan for at least 2 weeks.
Yeah, just plan for 2 weeks, just like sitting in your hotel. Yeah.
But yes, not to derail you. The zine making.
Oh yeah, the zine making. I actually so I made a zine right before I left. I started a zine right before I left, and it's called You're So Cute When You're Angry. And I never finished it, and I still haven't finished it, and I kind of think it's like it's better left unfinished
Yeah,
because it's kind of like, oh yeah, I started doing this thing and then like I like just didn't finish it, and like still like I've made I think I lost count honestly of how many zines I've made, but I think it's at least 50 now.
that's the secret of them is you can make a lot of them very quickly.
Yeah. With like with I wouldn't say minimal effort, but it's
Right,
like, you how many books can you make in, a period of 3 years
right. It's
versus how many zines can you make?
right. It's a matter of length. They're
Yeah.
they're they're 8 pages or 9 pages on
Yeah.
average.
But yeah, I think what happened was that like I went to purchase college for my first 2 years of college, and they have a yearly zine fest. And when I was a freshman, I went there and I was like amazed because it wasn't just a strictly zine fest. It was like, all the students had like tables and they were like selling, zines, their like art, their like t-shirts and like clothes they wanted to like get rid of. So it was kind of like almost like a market, but like centered around zines. So I thought that was cool. And
Yeah,
like I had never heard about them before then. And I got my first zines from there too, which is like really cool. And then, for like that was basically like a period of like, so like 2012 to like 2019. It's like a period of like 6 years that I didn't like, do anything with zines. And also like New York has it's called Mocha Fest, and
yeah.
I went there like twice. Oh, do you know about it?
I know. Yeah, I know about Mocha.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so like
I
I went to Mocha
I'm
Fest
a real
like,
comics head, so
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It's really funny how like the zine and comic worlds are overlap a lot.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, so basically like I went to Mocha Fest a few times. Because I was into art, when I was like in high school. So I've always done it, but I like bought zines from there and like I started collecting them a little. And then like when I went to the workshop, that sealed the deal. Um, yeah. It's a roundabout story.
right. But no, it's and then so I like post workshop, post that first zine, that kind of just sort of cemented like, oh, this is I like making these a lot.
Yeah. I think what really helped me is that it was like a group workshop.
Right.
So it was mostly people that had never made them, and I believe the workshop was by 8 Ball Radio, which is like they have a zine library in the city too. So we had like an experienced zine maker working with us, and we had like, copy machine. It was like a whole day thing, and I think that kind of support really like made it feel, like a doable thing to me because like I think for me even now it's kind of hard to like get the motivation to work on projects without kind of having um like a community or like,
Right.
social element to it.
Right. The idea of just like making something and just making something in nothing and releasing it into also nothing,
Yeah.
like this art in a vacuum. Yeah, it can be a tricky thing.
Yeah, definitely. So I think that helped me, like, give me the courage to be like, yeah, I can do this, and like it's okay that I needed to I think, yeah, I think people doing new things need support when they're doing, and that kind of gives them more confidence
Right,
to,
right.
experiment.
And because being around also a bunch of beginners, because I think sometimes people's tendency when they're starting something is to compare themselves to the people they know who are not beginners, and you're
Yeah.
like, why doesn't my work look like theirs? But then
Do you do that?
uh, no, not anymore. But I recognize why my work doesn't look like other people's work because
Yeah.
I don't spend as much time on it. I don't have the hours put in. Behind most geniuses is a lot of hours you never saw.
Yeah. That 100% makes sense. Um,
But when
but
it,
yeah, it's definitely good making stuff with beginners. It's kind
yeah,
of like, oh, we all don't know what we're doing, so that kind of is like, yeah, like I can literally like make a mess of this and it doesn't matter, and it's
right.
actually like a good thing.
Yeah, I think that's also a strength to zines is because they're short. So if you make a bad one that you don't like, at least it
Yeah.
was only 9 pages.
That's what I tell my friends, and like when I do workshops, I'm just like, your first scene does not have to be good.
Yeah,
And it probably won't be good, but the fact that you made it is the most important thing.
yeah. I've increasingly stressing to people that things don't matter if they're perfect. It's better that they're done than they're ever being perfect.
Yeah. Perfect is the enemy of good.
Right, exactly. There's no. What is the? Oh no, I lost a line. Anyway, um, nothing is ever perfect because that's just
Yeah.
it does
It's
not
not
work
a
like
thing.
that. Yeah, perfection is just like you saw like the version of it that you wanted to see, and then you don't see all the imperfections that the person who made it saw.
Yeah, you don't see all the sweat and mistakes.
Yeah. Ah, yes, yes. The line I was looking for is perfect always takes so long because it don't exist. But that's I was like, what was it? I had to rearrange them in my head. But yes, no, you can't. You just ought to do stuff, and like,
Yeah.
which is tricky when you don't have workshops. You're not in a place that
Yeah.
has like a art scene because I think
Yeah.
that's where online helps a little. But even at least within games, I feel jams have been getting to I don't know, professional, corporate, however you want to phrase it. Like
Yeah. That's kind of strange.
it's like too competitive. It's an intentional contest. It feels like, and
Yeah. I never really like kind of felt comfortable submitting my art to like things I was like, oh yeah, this is like a contest.
yeah,
And I'm just like, so it's not a submission? It's kind of like there's like a big difference to me because like I don't know, I think wording matters because it's
right.
like a contest. It's like, oh, we might give some people like money or like something or like a share on our Instagram.
Oh yeah, let's speak. Sabrina, calm down. Give people money. Why give them money when you can give them exposure?
Yeah. Yeah,
Sh-
exposure.
yeah,
Yeah.
a shout out on our Instagram to all of our followers. Something that they probably
Oh
never
my
do,
gosh.
and
Yeah.
definitely
Like
there's yeah,
if like yeah, it's like if big companies are doing stuff like that, I'm super suspicious about them.
yeah. Well, that why wouldn't you be? They're bigger, so they have bigger platforms. That's even more
Yeah.
exposure.
Oh my gosh. Maybe it's exposure like, when you're outside in the snow.
Yeah, it kind of is. It's like you're technically getting I'm getting air and sunlight, but it's destroying my body.
Yeah. That's actually a really good metaphor. Now I have it in my back pocket in case someone wants to offer me exposure.
Right, right. Yeah, it's my advice is don't get in the games. That's all. That entire thing is built around exposure.
Oops, too
Yeah.
late.
Well, I mean, I think it should further
Just
clarify
kidding.
video games.
Yeah.
I think tabletop is a little better off, but because video game conventions are all about like hey, basically you're paying for exposure at all those things. Nobody sells stuff there,
Yeah.
so
Makes
it's
sense because it's like, you can buy a tabletop game,
yeah.
um, but you can't quite, it's not quite as easy to just be like, yeah, I'm gonna buy a video game.
I figured that technique out.
Oh wait, yeah, I just connected the dots. Didn't you have like a thing where you went to a convention and you had like pieces of paper with the games on them?
Yeah, I make little art cards with the covers on them, or like key
Oh,
or like key art. If I'm selling other people's games, I just like a piece of art they give me for a postcard, so that people get
hmm.
like a nice little postcard. And then there's a code on the back.
That's such a good idea.
I highly encourage that people do that. Like, I mean, I've
I'm
generally
gonna
been in.
try doing that.
Yeah, like if you're selling a tabletop game like a PDF, and you have like a nice piece of cover art, you can just sell them a piece of cover art, or even
Yeah.
like you have like a zine, like a little rule book or whatever. You can put like a little PDF or a little thing on there too.
Interesting because uh oh yeah, so I shared my card game with you.
Yes. Oh, you. I was like, which one of us is gonna get to the transition first?
Yeah, yeah, it's radio talk not talking about
Yeah.
games. We're
Right.
like
Right.
circling around.
I was looking for my way in. Like I found one, and then
You
then
too.
I talked my way out of it, and then I found another. Then you found one. Anyway, so games. You also make games, or
Yeah,
a game at least.
I'm making my first game.
Now, tell me a little bit about this game. I presume I did not have. I was not given a Google Doc to read about it, because like the audience doesn't have a Google Doc that they read about it. Tell me about this game.
They don't have the Google Doc, and I will actually pull up my Google Doc
Oh,
so I
perfect.
don't like so I have my speaking points.
Yeah.
But yeah, the gist of it is so I'm working on a card game called Tarot Poem Party, and it's a game where it's a semi-competitive game where you make poems together with your friends, and it's kind of like the vibe, like the feel I'm going for is kind of like you're sitting at a table with your friends, you're kind of like writing together, and like it's kind of like that community sense that I was talking about of like
Yeah.
making. But it's also kind of like I wanted to feel like Uno, where it's like, hey, you stole my poem. Hey,
Okay.
you
Yeah.
like, you took points because basically you're making poems for the sake of points and also for the sake of writing and
Right.
kind of like, it I don't like the word gamify, but it kind of like gives you an incentive to write and like
Yes.
do quick, do quick, do quick writing that is not, like a book length. They kind of just to get your like creativity moving, which is
Right.
something that I struggle with. Because on top of my, let's see, my music making, my zine making, my print making, I also write a lot of poetry. But it's kind of like, yeah, there's the social element that it has always like not always been missing, but it's kind of like, writers are stereotyped as solitary,
Yeah.
but it's like you kind of think about why that is like, how many opportunities do you have to like gather your friends and like write with them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially because you cannot like. It's hard to have everyone contribute to a single piece. That's just kind of like not the nature of written text, typically speaking.
Yeah. So it's kind of like I was thinking about it. Um I have I have a good amount of board games. One of my favorites is Cat Lady, and do you know about it?
I don't know. I'm
Cat
look.
Lady is basically this game where you feed your cats food and you earn points for doing that, and you also collect toys and like, catnip and stuff for them, and it's very cute. And it's I like it because it's a casual, casual game, and it's kind of like, I like that it's a little bit more light than, the stereotypical like, tabletop game.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so I was kind of like it's only like tangentially related, but it's kind of like I liked the I wanted to combine the act of like, playing with cards and like shuffling them and stuff with like writing.
Right. It's related because it's evoking a feeling, which I think that people don't always associate with something being related to something else. Because you're like, oh, it doesn't borrow any of the mechanics, but it tries to evoke the same feeling that
Yeah.
you get from
Well,
playing
it
it.
kind of like it so I pulled up my Google Doc and I have my nice blurb.
Yeah.
So it's Tarot Poem Party is a game where you write poems with your friends. In the semi-competitive tarot inspired game, earn their vengeance by stealing their poems for points and experiment with your creativity. It can be played um it can be played solo or as a group and used as a writing tool, um, with the different variations and uh, rules. And some of my inspirations are Mario Party, Yu-Gi-Oh! The anime, not the manga, and Cat Lady.
Now, why the specification here? Is it because it
Well,
doesn't involve
so
quite as much death?
yeah, well, because it's kind of like me and my best friend Rachel, who's also like very nerdy and a writer too and an artist.
Yeah.
Always like made fun of like, oh, I play my Exodia card and I like, take 50 points from you. So it's kind of like, okay, so how do I combine like the silliness of like, card games for
Right.
kids
Or like
with like
narrative
writing?
card games where the mechanics are the narrative.
Yeah, so it's kind of like I want it to be like a game where you're actually sitting around laughing with your friends because it's also like I started making it last year, like last fall. And I was kind of like stumped because I was like, when people hear about this game, they're gonna think it's like, oh, you're just sitting around
Yeah.
quiet and like writing and not talking to each other. And I'm like,
Right.
that sounds like an awful game.
And tarot and poetry are very common in the TTRPG space. For
Yeah, I found out about that after I started making it, and
yeah,
I'm like, oh my gosh, that's
which
amazing.
is
I love
to
that.
the plus side a lot more. It probably presumes a lot of people have tarot decks then.
Yeah, so it's kind of like also the way that I'm integrating this into the rest of my work is that I do illustration and print design. So it's kind of like I want this to be a functional tarot deck too,
Yeah.
which is gonna be like that adds another layer of complexity to this project.
Yeah, that's the curse of
Um,
being multidisciplinary because you're like, oh, well, I can do all this stuff.
Yeah, I'm like thinking like, cause like my next step is so basically I have the rules down. I'm starting to work on like the layout and the actual cards because I want to have a print to play version and
Yeah.
also like a physical version where I like, get the cards made or I might print the cards. But it's also like, like I'm gonna do all the art for the cards. Interesting.
Yeah. Suddenly a full deck,
Yeah,
like you kind of just. It's something you say is very easy to say. I'll just make all the art for
yeah,
the cards, and then you count how many cards there are and how many pieces of unique art that is, and then
yeah.
you kind of dug yourself a big hole there.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, that's a problem that I'm actually trying to look forward to solving
Yeah.
efficiently because I also do digital art and that's where I use a lot where I use Electric Zine Maker a lot is that I use it kind of as like a glitch tool and kind of like to push the colors and like my illustrations and stuff. So I'm thinking about like using that software to like make the art and kind of like almost make it a little bit more uniform because I've
Right.
also found some like resources where there's like royalty free like vector art. So it's like kind of basically like I would, do some rough drafts and then like run it through Electric Scene Maker and like, edit it and make the each piece unique but not have you know, the problem of having to like hand draw everything, which I think is what will take the most amount of time and effort for me.
Yeah. Now, Sabrina, have you heard of this thing called AI art? I think it takes care it takes care of the work of
Oh my
of
gosh.
there being an artist involved at all. You can just
Yeah.
you can just type full tarot deck, please, and you'll get.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, is it a little lifeless?
Mm.
Sure.
Sure.
Does it kind of lack personality, but is like technically proficient? Probably. But
Yeah, I won't be
yeah,
using any AI art.
yeah, that my ongoing stance in AI is I hate it. I can't stand it. I'm sick of it. I don't want to see it anymore. It's
Yeah,
like
it's kind of like I don't know. I think it's like it seems like it's a logical progression of like, commodifying of art.
right,
Um and like also
yeah,
devaluing it too at the same time. So
right,
it's kind of like I'm trying to like it's it's like interesting because it's trying to like say, yeah, making art takes a long time and we want to be efficient about it, but it's like totally like the wrong evil way to do it,
right.
you
Yes,
know.
and and it's like it's a real one-two punch of just like crypto or NFTs straight into
Oh yeah,
AI art.
it's the same thing basically. It's like, oh yeah, we got these computers and we got to do something with them because like now it's taboo to like be doing crypto
Right.
if you're not a crypto bro.
And so it's
And
like,
thankfully like yeah.
yeah. So now they're wondering what's the new way we can replace artists.
Yeah. It's
uh,
like interesting because like so I also like do live coding. Do you know about that?
no, tell me about live coding.
Okay, so live coding is basically making music with code, and you're performing at the same time. And I just like got into like doing that, I would say like last winter. Yeah. And that's also like another community I'm part of, and it's like that's like the techiest, um, probably the techiest community I'm like part of.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting because like, I don't know, because it's like you think that I would like there would be a lot of like crypto bros doing live coding. I mean, no, not all right. So actually, no, that's not true. Okay, so you think that if it's a tech
Yeah.
community, there will be a lot of people like, for maybe for the stereotypical view would be like, these coders, programmers are like doing all the crypto things. But
Right.
it's
Right.
like funny because it's a very live coding is a very like DIY community and like most of the software that we use is like open source. So like most people are like very anti crypto and I'm just like it's so funny like the contrast between like, stereotypical like thoughts of like people in like tech spaces versus like the actual reality.
Right. Right. It's the kind of I wonder how many people in those tech spaces are just also like
Yeah,
money people in those tech spaces, not
yeah,
even tech people in those tech spaces.
yeah. Who's like the loudest person in this room versus like who's the majority,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Right. When you have a lot of money, you can throw it around a lot and then get people to pay attention to you.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like I really love live coding and it's kind of like um it's basically like, you know, to me I've been connecting music and art and games a lot together and also like poetry and there's a lot of like, overlapping elements which is like kind of been like really cool and like I don't know, it's like it's been interesting to kind of like figure out things that go together and things that you wouldn't think that would go together. And that's
Yeah.
a kind of like, most of my like practice slash stuff I do. It's kind of like just mishmashing everything together and seeing what happens.
Yeah. Now, how did you get into live coding? Was that just another case of just checking out stuff that was happening nearby and be like, ah, I've never done this before?
Um, let's see, how did I find? Okay, so one of my friends, her name is Char Styles, and she's part of she's part of Live Code NYC, which is like the group that I'm like really active in. I'm also part of it too. But I met her at um this fair called Emergence Fair that a print studio called Hyperlink Press ran last October. So basically, they were like part of the space, which is now known as Hex House, that this fair was running out of. And they came and said, "Hey, like I saw you on Instagram. I saw you on Instagram. Like, we should like hang out sometime and like talk about art stuff." And they invited me over to a jam at their house, and then I started getting more involved in like checking out the shows and stuff because like there's a lot of live code shows. That's like, a lot of live coding is like, electronic-ish music,
Yeah.
but honestly, it like varies. So I went to like shows. I like signed up for. I had actually performed for the first time live that past like last December. So it was like 2 years ago. Um, actually, wait, no, 1 year ago. Time. I think yeah, it was I don't know. It was like 1 or 2 Decembers ago, but I had like ran a zine fair, and I like used the opportunity of me running my own zine fair to like be like, hey, I'm performing for the first time, even though like I'm very terrified
Yeah.
and still kind of like I had experience performing and like I also like did my second show at Hex House, so it's kind of like I just felt really welcome in this like community of like, hackers and artists and like people that love making weird, obscure music. Um, so yeah, basically like I met Shar and like after that I was just like, became friends with lots of people that did live coding and I'm like, yes, now I'm a live coder.
Right. Right. Just you need to. You're like 20 things wasn't enough. What if I had
Yeah,
21?
no. It's like it's like for me I bounce around from project to project a lot, so that's
Yeah.
how I keep myself not bored,
Right.
basically.
Yeah. No. I've never understood how somebody could get bored. There is
Yeah,
so little time to do anything.
I know. Yeah, it's like it's a fun problem to have.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just say yeah, I like gave my live code elevator pitch.
No, like I listen. I
And
don't know how available it is to people around the world, but you can look it up. I could type in live code right now and let me. You could probably
yeah,
learn about it. Like, what do you
well,
need for it?
okay, so there's like a lot of programs, but I would say the best one for people to start off with is either okay, so there's like live coding visual programs and there's live coding visual music
Yeah.
programs. The one I use is called Title Cycles and it has a really active Discord community. That one is like kind of annoying to install, but it basically like the thing that makes it special is that it plays music in like a circular
Yeah.
pattern versus like, something like in a I don't know, like like a DAW, like where there's like, which is a digital audio workstation, and it's kind of like, the music goes from like, you know, left to right, from beginning to start, but Title
Right.
Cycles, it makes basically like cycles the song around, I mean, the sounds around and they repeat. But yeah, Tidal Cycles is cool. Sonic Pi is a really good program also because it was made for kids. So it's like pretty simple and it's like it has a low, um, like, startup time. Like
Yeah.
you literally just have to go to like sonicpi.com or whatever it is and like download the program and that's it.
Right, and
Yeah.
it's easy. I when you said title was complicated, and like I saw free open source software, I'm like, ah, yes, that's why. My old
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing with open source software is that like, since it's an act of love and like community service, it's like kind of like a bunch of like parts glued together and like
yeah.
hoping they work.
And sometimes
Just
it'll take function over. Often it will take function over form,
yeah.
which is
Yeah.
listen. I've never one to complain. I would rather something work than look nice.
Yeah. It's like you have to balance it.
Right. Yeah.
But
Okay.
yeah.
I say that, but then I could not use GIMP when it didn't have any anchored menus or
Oh
anything.
yeah. Oh yeah, I remember using GIMP when I was like in high school.
Yeah.
GIMP is like a drawing software like the very like freeware version of Photoshop.
Yeah, and I
Um,
when it was all just separate windows,
oh my gosh.
and it's,
Yeah.
and I could not manage. Now GIMP is great.
Yeah, it's a lot better.
Yeah,
Yeah, that just brought up like a flashback to me like sitting on my like Windows like I don't know. Maybe it was like Windows XP computer,
yeah,
like trying to draw like fan art on GIMP and like suffering.
yeah. Right. It's and then finding, of course, a computer has a copy of CS2 Portable on it. Just finding it. It's just weird how that happens sometimes when you're in high school.
Yeah, you just find it somewhere,
You're like, I
like
didn't.
just anywhere.
Right. I didn't check the. Weird. I didn't check this folder earlier, but it has a copy of Photoshop in it. Weird how that happens.
Yeah, or like or your friend gives it to you on like a USB drive.
Yeah.
So funny.
Yes.
But don't tell Adobe.
No.
They'll come after us.
I think the statues are. I don't think that my cracked version of CS2.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're still coming for me. I think it might
Yeah,
still be on my laptop.
I was a kid back then. You can't prosecute kids for
Right. You ca-
pirating software,
you
right?
you can't bust a kid for downloading Pokemon ROMs in high school.
Yeah. It's like it's like I didn't know. I didn't know it wasn't free.
The website said free Pokemon on it, so
Yeah.
I wanted to
It's
play.
free Pokemon. It says it's free.
I wanted to play Pokemon for free.
Like, what's your favorite Pokemon game?
I have.
Do you have one?
I don't know.
You don't.
No.
You just like the Pokemon. You
It's more the opposite. It's more
rare
like more
Pokemon.
like I don't care about Pokemon enough to have a favorite.
Yeah.
It's
I'll always take the. Go ahead.
no, that was the end of my sentence. I just, I'm indifferent. As the good book says, I grew up and I put away childish things. Uh,
Yeah.
but basically, it's fine. I have no opinion on it.
Yeah.
Pokemon adults
I
are
would.
very weird.
Yeah, it's like I'm super nostalgic
Yeah,
for
or
it.
not. That's, and I must emphasize that is when I say Pokemon adults, I say in the same way that one would say Disney adults. And that
Yeah.
not adults that play Pokemon, but adults that are too into Pokemon.
Yeah, I think my two favorite Pokemon games
Yeah,
are Pokemon Emeralds, which is like, every kid that's like, every person that's like in their, a lot of people in their like 20s, like me, are like,
yeah.
yes, like Emerald was my favorite because like, that was the first Pokemon game I ever beat.
Okay,
I was like 8 and I like, beat it and I was like crying. I was like, oh my gosh, I did it.
I'm a little older, so I checked out at Gold.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
But
Yeah,
what's the second one? Is it Mystery
the second,
Dungeon? Is it uh,
let's see.
Hey You Pikachu?
Hmm, let's see. My other favorite one,
Pokemon?
I'm gonna go for the obscure option, which is like Pokemon Channel.
What
And it
is?
was like Pokemon Channel was this game on the GameCube that was basically like you're hanging out with Pikachu, and there's like this TV that has like interactive like games and stuff on it. And it's like so weird because it barely has a story. You don't like fight any Pokemon. You're just like chilling with Pikachu. But it's like super like surreal and bizarre, and it has like I don't know, just I started designing an album cover, and I like used some pictures from it. But it's just basically like a Pokemon game where nothing happens, but the graphics are so cute. And it's just like, yeah, you're just hanging out with Pikachu. Oh, Pikachu found a flower. Oh, actually, alright, that makes sense. It's like kind
Yeah.
of like reminiscent of Pokemon Snap, but you don't
Okay.
really do much either. So it's like, it's funny. It's a funny game. I want to like pick the one nobody knows about, and
No,
then people will have to look it up.
I'm kind of fascinated. These two pictures that GameSpot took for its video for its
I'm gonna
review
look too.
back in 2013 or 2003 are very good. I'll bring those up for the stream. They're both exceptionally good pictures. Now, actually, I'm kind of fascinated by this game now,
Yeah, it's so weird, but I loved it.
or fascinated by my idea of what the game could be.
Yeah, it's like kind of like oh, it's like the Indiepocalypse games. What can a game be?
Right, right. What could a Pokemon game be? Is sometimes a Pokemon game is you just like hanging out with Pikachu while he watches an episode of Pokemon.
Yeah, like you watch they it's weird because on the in the game you can actually watch an episode of like a Pokemon short, and I'm just like, that's kind of meta, I think.
Yeah, so here we go. We got some Doug Trio handing Pikachu. You're a little behind, but you'll everyone will catch on here in a second. Where
And there's
Pikachu's
also like
no, sorry.
there's also like a oh yeah, there's also like a shopping channel on in Pokemon Channel. So you just like buy furniture for your house because it's like kind of like you're in a house of Pikachu and you just like decorate your house. That kind of gives me like Animal Crossing like vibes
Right,
because that's also like one of my favorite games.
that's sort of like quiet non-game sort of thing.
Yeah, it's just kind of like you're just spending your time playing because like I had Pokemon XD for the GameCube too, but since I was like a little kid that didn't know how to like actually beat games,
Right.
I got like frustrated with it and I never played it, but I thought it was fun because you get to like, run around um in 3D in the Pokemon world.
Yeah, I never that was like I was so clocked out that I was never quite sure exactly what that was, and I'm not going to look it up now. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I in my mind I'm like, is it Pokemon Stadium? Is it like a
Oh, it's basically like Pokemon Stadium but just like updated.
you can run around a little? Yeah,
Yeah, you can like there's like some overworld stuff.
but speaking of overworlds, and so that we can get you back to this overworld we call life. Um, we're going to I'm going to start wrapping up this show if that's all right with you. We have like a
Yeah, I think like I think we
we've
like
we
we talked about my game
yeah.
for like 2 seconds and then that got distracted, but that's fine. But
No,
yeah, I'm
no.
working on
Listen,
it and like
you've talked about a lot more than a lot of people talk about their games on this show. That's the
yeah,
benefit
I
of having a solo show.
yeah. But yeah, I'm so excited about this game because I honestly think that like it's just a really fun combination of like a lot of my interests
Yeah,
because it's like kind of I've been thinking about like, when I start trying to like sell and market it, like am I gonna, approach it from the angle of like, this is a art like do you know about artist books?
no. I mean, probably
Artist
not.
I mean
Yeah, explain,
I mean
please. Yeah.
artist books artist books are, kind of like those fancy coffee table books
Oh
that you
yes.
can like, get at like when you go to like a fancy museum.
Yeah, like that.
Um,
What's that company that makes a really huge books? You know the one.
hmm,
They make giant, expensive books.
I
Um,
vaguely know what you're
my
talking
friend has a
about.
crazy cat that is from by them. I forget
I'm
what they're
not
called
sure.
though. But
Yeah.
yes, I get what you say.
Yeah, but like an artist book is basically like a book that it's made like with a limited print run. It's not like, a paperback book or like a mass market like hardcover. So it's kind of like usually the expectation with the artist book is that the like actual artist made the book or, helped assemble and like they, drew the art for it. They like came up with the form for it and stuff. So it's kind of like, okay, so I am like my title or like, career, vocation, calling, whatever it
Yeah,
is like I'm an artist. And like that's a huge umbrella. So it's kind of like, is the fact that I'm making this as an artist, does this make this an art game slash art piece? Which I think it is. I think it is because it's I don't know, it's a lot of like hard work and like, trial and error and like kind of crafting each component. But it's also like, I think a lot of artist books are kind of exclusionary, because they're so expensive.
yeah,
And so I'm also trying to like, approach it in the way that, I sell my zines because I sell my zines at you know, fairs and I like, sell them to like zine distributors. And that's been like it's been a really nice part of my like, making is that I get to share my work with people and like help them with their businesses too. So it's kind of like, yeah, I feel like I'm going for like, a zine vibe, almost like Indiepocalypse, you know, like how it's not so much that, this is an art piece and it must be respected as an
right.
art piece, but it's kind of like, how can I get this project that I love and care about and people are like really interested in it because I also like have done playtests and I've gotten really good response from it. Um so yeah, basically I'm saying like, it's kind of like interesting to see what my next steps will be kind of like integrating this as like, an important part of my practice versus like, commercial product.
Yeah, yeah. Games are very weird in how they interact with other art spaces because I think they do feel like they're sort of like 90% commercial products, you know.
Yeah.
And then I think TTRPG has a little bit more wiggle room in terms of like arts, you know,
Yeah.
and mostly because it's a lot easier to create a PDF than it is to sell a game and put it on like Xbox or something.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So I
Um
think that like that lower barrier to entry allows more people in.
yeah, I think so because I think actually the way that I came around to like starting to make my game was that I like board games and I was like, okay, how can I make a board game? And then like, I saw all this stuff about, you have to crowdfund and I'm like, that is way too much work for me. Where can I find some DIY people like everything else I do? So I like found out more about TTRPGs and I have friends that play them and I was like, this kind of seems like, this kind of seems like it resonates with me. So yeah, it's kind of like I've also been getting into more of like the TTRPG community. Um, like, I like started I joined a Discord for this TTRPG called Thirsty Sword Lesbians.
Okay. Yes.
And have you heard of them? Have you
It,
heard of the
the
game?
yes, I've heard the game. Is that the person who is that the sword? The I'm trying to think of who makes that.
Their name is let me look up their
Oh, fine.
name.
Well, Evil Hat's producing
Uh,
it or publishing it, whatever. But who made it?
I know them because they're in the Discord with me.
Yes.
Wait, okay, all right. Um,
Not Evil
Let's
Hat.
see.
Damn it.
April Walsh, I believe. I don't want to get their April Walsh.
Damn, Evil Hat's.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah, you are right. Yeah.
April Kit Walsh.
Yes, I had to dig around.
Yeah,
I had to dig around long enough
they're.
to find it because fucking Evil Hat's name is all over everything.
Mm, Um, but yeah, April, she helped put together like Thirsty Sword Lesbians, and I'm part of a Discord where people make playbooks for it, and it's kind of like, they invited me because I said that, hey, I'm making like a game. I want to meet other game makers, but I
Yeah,
didn't know like, I kind of didn't find any spaces that seemed appealing to me as like, like a black woman, and I'm just like, okay, yeah, these people are so nice. So
yeah,
like I've been playtesting and like rewriting my rules and stuff with them, and like it's, I don't know, it's like such a sweet community, and I'm like really grateful that I'm part of all these like, so many spaces that are, all for like DIY, and like supporting people that make projects that they really love and care about, which is like, pretty much all about what I do is like it's centered in like care and like, transformative like magic and like kind of like, the potential of like making things and, community and like, love
yeah,
and care and stuff like that. All those good things.
yeah. It can be very difficult to like get yourself into the door, and then once you're in the door, uh, you better hope you like the room. You know.
I know, yeah. So it's like you just have to go into a bunch of rooms and see which ones you like.
Yeah. And you have to
Yeah.
find a lot of them and go, huh? These ones are locked. Oh, oh,
Do I burn this door down or do I just like, go to another?
right. Exactly. Do I? Do
I
I?
think burning it on first sight is a little extreme, but
Right. Do I check under the rock for a key? Do I just kind of sit by and wait next to it for someone else to come in and I sneak in along with them?
yeah. Do I get a party to help me knock down the door?
Yeah, yeah. All about figuring out what your technique is. But listen, being invited in the
Yeah.
room is the best way, honestly.
I know. It makes me feel so like so happy and like cared for when people are like, "Hey, I see you're doing cool stuff. Like, you should join us." Because
Yes.
I try and do that all the time. Like that's why I've mentioned like a million people because it's like I really believe in like their work and like, that they kind of have, similar like, ambition and like, kind of like a purpose behind what they do.
Yeah, I've definitely it's my whole thing. This whole
Yeah, like
project is
you.
is like trying to talk about as much other people's work as possible. I mean,
Yeah, I think that's so amazing. I mean, I saw your work and I was like, that's so cool. Like, I want to, like, I don't know how I'll be part of this, but
uh,
you made it very easy by putting up a submission thing.
yes, yes, yeah, or if like zines, I'm always welcome to. I say
Oh,
always, but I have a
yeah.
couple of people who I just haven't contacted. Sometimes I had a thing where I was like, why am I not making as much money? And I realized that I was basing royalties on gross and not net. So
Oh, no.
I was personally like not getting anything out of it basically because
Mhm.
I think like itch and payment processors were eating up my percentages.
Yeah.
But that was because
Uh,
I launched my first one live. So and I just literally copied my formula to each subsequent one,
mhm.
never
Yeah.
accounting for processor fees.
Oh, yeah. I actually am on itch.
Yeah.
Oops, I forgot. Yeah, because like, my first collaborative zine, Space for Black Hair is up on there, but I kind of like started putting things on there because, to get ready for like, the Tarot Poem Party launch. I'm also gonna try and like start putting my zines on there.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's like I think it's also like the itch community is like I think that's so interesting, that there's like, a more central space to find indie games because honestly I like them a lot more than some mainstream ones.
Yeah, yeah. I'm similar in that I'm a real indie freak, in terms of just independent. I got just today. I can't grab. Oh, I can grab them. Just today, I'm holding a package from Latvia from Kush Comics. I can open it live. People like
That's
unboxings, right?
exciting.
People
Yeah.
love
I'm
unboxings.
all for a good
An
unboxing.
unboxing that you can't see.
It's a audio
Yeah,
unboxing. You
here.
have to like, imagine the box and opening it up. Oh
Here's
yeah.
the plastic wrap. Yeah, my latest Kush comic came in, which is alternative comic stuff from Latvia and all over the world. But
So cool.
yeah, I'm a big fan of independent art, and I love kind of like,
Yeah.
and also like related to your thing, itches. Like if you have like free, like any zines that are also free, if you make any of those,
Mm-hmm.
you can just embed them, and you can just like
Oh.
flip. I don't know how people do it. Because I've never personally done it, but I don't imagine it's too hard.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you can just embed them, and then people can read them in browser.
That's amazing. Yeah. Oh, also, I remembered like the probably the longest running inspiration for my game is this book called Poem Crazy by Susan Goldsmith Will Bridge. Will yeah. Her name is
No, I've been
a
down
little
that
bit
road.
mouth
I've been
yeah.
down that road before too.
Okay. I will try and pronounce it correctly. So the book is called Poem Crazy and it's by Susan Goldsmith Bridge.
Wold
Will Will
Woldridge.
Wooldridge. Yes, the D was
Woldridge.
tripping me up.
Yes. No, Woldridge
Yeah.
is what I would say.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, like my last like temp job that was awful. I read this book like back and forth. Because I always wanted to write like poems. But it's basically like it's like, hey, try and make some poems and it also like talks about like making like little like taking little slips of paper and like putting words together, kind of like almost like magnetic poetry, which is like, I don't know, it's like all around the same line of like,
Right.
having poems, cutting them up, kind of like not treating them as precious, but also like, you know,
Right.
respecting that they're the art form.
Right. Poetry
So
as
yeah.
a like a found art, not necessarily something you have
Yeah.
to write yourself. How you can create poetry out of if you're
Hmm.
just in this last issue in there's a game called Last November by D.H. Crowstill, which is
Hmm.
it's like a erasable poetry zine is how they
Ooh.
phrased it, where it's like text that you click on and it disappears, words vanish, and you make poetry like that out of like
Yeah.
these pre-existing chunks of text,
Have you heard of poem games?
like as the broad concept or a specific one.
No, it's a broad concept.
Probably.
Yeah, there's a ton of them on itch. Like you could probably look it up. But I was
Yeah.
like, I found out about them and I was like, that's super weird. You can make a poem game. I think they're kind of like very short games, and
Yeah.
it's like a lot of them are just like journaly, like almost like a solo like TTRPG.
Yeah. There's a lot of this I've found recently. Recently, I say in the last 2.5 years of doing this project, there's a lot of solo journaling games.
I love those so much, and I haven't played any, which is like kind of funny.
Yeah, right. It's you have to be
Yeah,
maybe in like the right mindset for it.
yeah. But yeah, yeah. All my like, I love all these little tangents. I think we were like gonna wrap up, but
Yes. Well, you've
yeah,
clearly not an avid listener of the show, or you would know better that when I say it's time to wrap up, it means 20 more minutes. Um,
yeah. It's like when I leave a room and I'm like, yeah, I'm leaving, and then I
yeah.
just like say bye to like 20 people, and I'm like, yeah, I'm leaving now. I will
Yes.
literally drag myself out of this room.
Exactly. It's like that's why I call this. That's why this show has been christened your online post-con hangout, because after an event and everyone's like, "Yeah, I gotta go," and then
Yeah, I got it.
everyone's there 30 minutes later.
I love it. It's like, you're having so much fun and you don't want to leave.
Yes, right. You can't find the natural out to the conversation, so somebody has to put their foot down and say,
Yes.
"Here's the out."
We, we have boundaries in this house.
Right, and the boundary
Time
is
boundaries.
the time exactly.
This.
And my boundary
Yeah.
is. Should I get this? It was Tashin was the name I was thinking about a while ago, or
Oh, for what?
Tishin, of the big art books.
Oh,
Okay, and I don't think I need
yeah.
this. I was looking at a book that they had, and I thought, oh, this might be cool, but I don't think it's actually that cool.
Yeah. I
Um,
think like if you go find like a random like artist, they probably made something better than that.
yeah.
Because
Well,
like there's a lot of I do Rezo printing and there's so many good artist books that are like Rezo printed, so I would start there first if you wanna get a really nice book.
yeah. Um, no, I thought I saw a cool one. It was like manga artists, and I thought, oh, wait a minute, is this a cool collection of? It seems fine. It seems like one of the situations where I'm in much deeper, so it's like I don't
Yeah.
benefit from what they have.
Yeah.
There may be a couple like weird oddball like artists that aren't in the West that I would have picked up, but maybe I will. Whatever, who cares?
Yeah. You life is short.
Time is short. It's $20.
That's not yeah, that's maybe not that one.
but
Yeah.
but
It
anyway,
was
the
so
show.
nice coming. Yeah.
But the show is coming to an end. We've crested an hour now,
Yes.
which is how long I like to keep these solo shows. You would think with the format that, huh, if he does 20-minute segments for all the guests, so surely a solo guest must be a 20-minute show. What a fool you
No.
are.
Especially not if your solo guest has
A lot to say.
50
Yeah,
hobbies and they like talking
you're
a
right.
lot.
Yes. And fortunately, all of my solo guests have enjoyed talking, which is a
It's
blessing
like
to me.
yeah. Yeah, thanks so
No,
much.
thank you for being on the show. Sabrina, where can people find your stuff if they want to look for it? And I hope they do want to look for
Um
it.
yeah, let's see. Let me look it up.
What's the easiest place to
Um
find you?
the easiest place to find me is starlyart.studio,
Oh,
which is a
perfect.
website.
You have your own
And
website. Beautiful.
I'm also on Instagram as Starly Art Studio, and you can get all my links on either one of those pages. But
Perfect.
yeah, and I also have a Bandcamp, which is also linked onto my website.
Yes, multidisciplinary, as they say.
Yeah, multidisciplinary, more links.
Yes, you've got links upon links, and who knows, in a year you may have other links. There,
Yeah,
there may be new art forms, new ideas, new things that you've created links for. But
yeah.
but there may be new services in a year. You never know.
Mm-hmm.
You,
Yeah, I'm doing like zine design, print design, so workshops, shows, all those good things.
maybe people will actually be. Is do 2023? Do you get into animation? You know,
Oh God, no, I'm not going there. I told myself I will not be an animator no matter how much I want to do it.
because it takes forever.
Yeah, I'll just do my like my digital art and be
Yeah,
happy with that.
you're right. There is a reason why there's like entire teams, and then they ship their work to an entire other team. It takes a
Yeah,
lot, but
yeah,
a
and I'm
beautiful form, nonetheless.
yeah,
Uh, anyway,
yeah. I have outro music.
yes, you're jumping the gun there.
Sorry.
No, that's
I
fine.
like that song so much. It's called Talk to Me.
Yes,
And I'm also releasing a new song either today or tomorrow, depending on how I feel.
yeah. So we are. I will say on my part by Indiepocalypse. It's good. there's a new one coming out in scarce 6 days from now, if you can believe it.
Oh, that's exciting.
They
I can't
just
wait to read it.
they just keep coming out, you know.
I'm so
Not
happy for you.
I've yeah, it's weird how I just keep doing this every week, every month, and how it's just part of my life now.
Yeah.
Um, if you want to do something, if you learned anything from myself or Sabrina this episode, is if you want to do something, just do it.
Yeah, do it, experiment.
Yeah,
Don't
don't
be afraid to be silly and make
yeah,
messes.
don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to
Yeah,
hate your own work.
failing it failing is good,
Yeah,
honestly.
right. Listen, it's the people who don't fail that never improve because
Yeah. So deep.
they're secretly always failing. They just don't realize it.
Yeah.
I've
Good
seen
life advice.
yes, I have seen in doing this the brazen confidence of people who make the most subpar, uninteresting work. But
Yeah. But your work is more likely than not to be not
yeah,
subpar.
yeah. And if you recognize that it's that old speech, you know, if you think your work looks bad, that's a good thing because you recognize bad work and you know you want to be better.
Yeah. So
Um,
true.
anyway, like like we said earlier, we are exiting with the show as soon as I dig up Fubar. We exiting with the titular. And you know what? Since you're on the show, and you obviously give me clearance, I don't even have to edit. I don't have to. I'm not even going to stop my recording. If you're fine with that, I'm just going to let it ride so it stays in the archive.
Go ahead. Yeah, and you can find it on my Bandcamp.
Well, perfect. So if you're listening, you're listening. You know how normally if you're listening to this archive and I say the names of songs and you're like, I didn't hear that song. This time when I say we're going to be closing out our show with Sabrina Sims' "Talk to Me," you're going to actually hear it. What a world we live
Yeah.
in. Sabrina, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks so much.
Glad to have you. Maybe one day
Me
I
too.
will.
This was super fun.
Thank you. I love to have the show. It's the way I go out and meet people in this post or in this convention locked down world, or also
Yes.
I'm not spending a lot of money kind of world.
Yeah.
I realized that. Nope, never mind. I was going to go into a conversation again. I'm not going to. That. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you so much.
Bye. Bye.